In praise of the British Rebellion, I say, this is really the fault of everybody who isn't protesting against Muslim immigrant violence. It's your fault. All this is your fault. Britain is in the trouble it's in because of you. Because you don't have solid principles upon which you want the nation to be guided. You do not want the future to be ready, better for the young. You have given into this thing that you've been programmed into thinking by the BBC and by movies. You're not half as smart as you think you are. You take in, a lot of your life has been left passively taking in entertainment. So you think that it's inevitable, that the AI, robotronic future, and not many people, but everybody will be dressed, I guess, in Lycra onesies or something, and they'll all be, they'll have sex with anything, or whatever lunacy, or if it's the world, ice world, or world where you can't breathe, whatever it is. It's something that's kind of programmed into a generation, and so it's your fault. You're the ones who haven't bequeathed the future better, and these guys are willing to stand up and say it's now or never. So it's your fault that you're unprincipled, and that you don't have a backbone. You have no fortitude. You're afraid of the Muslim savages, and you know it. They make you feel fear. And that's it. I mean, that's really how it is. You know that by credo, it's a religion that's violent toward its neighbors. Anybody who's studied the history of especially any neighboring people knows like that they have horrible relationships with Muslims. It's never this awesome, peaceful thing. It's like you kind of never know when they're going to snap on you. You're always having to tread carefully with them because of how thin-skinned, they tend to be. And that it really comes down to where are the millions of Europeans emigrating to their nations. People want to say this and that about the colonies. It's like that was thousands. Probably didn't even get into like the 50s of thousands when you're talking about most of these colonies, because there just weren't that many people and then people who could survive there. Most of this were business people and military attaches and government people running industries with the wealthy people of those countries. What really people should be mad about the colonies is that the wealthy of those countries didn't properly preserve an infrastructure for multi-generational wealth after they were no longer colonies. Such as so many different parts of the African continent, that they've ended up having to become kind of colonies for China. So because they just had no way of utilizing their infrastructure at the same with the same level of efficiency, because it just wasn't familiar. It wasn't a familiar aspect of the culture. It wasn't a familiar aspect of history outside of the short period of colonization. This is an issue of bringing technology any place. Thomas Sowell kind of touches on this. I mean, he does, but it's just that it's one of these things that, it's not cult cargo or cargo cult, but it has a similarity to that you really don't have, say, shipping and receiving families. Like, why are the Lebanese rug dealers in so many countries? That if you know anything about like Persian families and Lebanese families, they'll be involved in shipping and receiving. And why? Well, these are people that were involved in shipping and receiving for eons. this is a very normal business for people to think. So there's just lots and lots and lots and lots of people with those skills. Yeah, it's just one of those things, like athletics and Black Americans, that when they can get people who have that talent base and cultivate the skills, so that eventually it's a group that dominates a specific field of really entertainment. And so, and this is just the way things are. It's just, some groups are just almost into certain fields. You just find a lot of them in certain fields because it's just something that was normal as a part of the way that the culture has adapted to interacting with lots of different cultures. And it could very well be that it's because they have an idea that is very easy to communicate amongst themselves, but it's very difficult for them to get across to other people, and you know, or something like that, or other people just don't have that same level of interest. So I have to support these people standing up, because they're showing at some point, you know, this is still a minority group. And one of the key things is the British have order and common law. They also are known to be a group that it's like, no, you mess around with these people and you make an enemy that could last hundreds of years. Hundreds. And the thing is, to me, I'm like, yeah, this fleeting modernist cult in the ruling class, this wacky idea of liberalism and diversity, that is a fleeting thing. Look at what it takes. It's going to take the entire security apparatus of your country looking in on itself at all times. So now you have a society that absolutely has no trust. None. Why would you ever want to have any other group of people in your community from that point on? If you know that all this is going to do is possibly bring in the secret Bob, you know, the shadow Bill. Oh, they're looking. Is anybody being mean to the Muslims who live here? Are you being mean to the Muslims? Or are you saying something about bacon? No, you can't even sell bacon in this town anymore. It's officially a hate crime. You know, anything for the Muslims. Give them the redheads. You know, I mean, like, I mean, really, like, a truly feckless people. And, you know, that the Muslim population has had, and especially that, this is the one that gets me, that Chaudhry now has been found to be a part of some kind of terrorism, something or other. And it's like, oh, Chaudhry, surprise, surprise. Oh, really? You don't say. Chaudhry, of all people. You know, but the big thing is though, all this comes down to is all of the liberal parties of the Eurosphere, America, Australia, Britain, Germany, Western Europe generally, all of these, if you are a radical Marxist, if you are a Leninist, if you are some kind of red anarchist, if you're some anti-fascist, quote-unquote, which is all those other things I mentioned before, and if you're an angry Muslim, or some just angry African, and that me and my angry violent collective, even though we are in a country where there is voting, we just have to get anger mode and do things to people that it's like, no. Nobody has to. Nobody on the right needs to hide this anymore. We know. All of you are people who your very collective ideas are violent by credo. The second half of the Quran is full of violence against other people. They're notoriously violent and rapacious as a group. No, they are not. It's a myth that like Christians beat them at this. No, there's a whole reason why there's a huge section of the world that all looks like Arabs. So, why are we supposed to act like you guys are moral or correct about anything? Even your very concepts of what motivates humans aren't correct. You can't even educate the youth anymore because your concepts about human motivations don't correlate to the real world. They don't correlate with reality. Even your educational theories are now discordant with reality. Some categories of people could just make believe things, and it's real, and it's science, because it's a dude with lipstick on. So it won't really matter much longer. You now have developed a culture of don't trust them, and you can't get past that. Once you're there, you can't get past that. That the authorities aren't the authorities anymore. The British know this. Like, this is the worst part about this. The British do this to themselves. And some bunch of toffs end up, oh, you yobs, you know, even though you're the society that somebody like me is meant to keep stable, I'm going to upset I'm going to upset the table because I expect you all to, you're my pets, and I expect you to just do what I want. You're going to just do, you're going to just obey, you know, and so you're going to find that more and more there's going to be these people who will enter politics who are distasteful. And they'll try to outlaw these parties and demonize people, and then it's going to be, oh, we're going to start locking people up for hate crime. That's going to go, imagine how that's going to do. Once you have normal people getting locked up so that they can't, like, lay the roads, so that normal people, once it becomes that entire groups of tradesmen start going out and protesting and then getting locked up so that, oh, now they have a criminal record and they aren't allowed to do all these things in Britain because you have a criminal record, but this person, you know, is one of the people who maintains London Bridge. You know, I mean, at some point you're going to end up losing this. The rabble always figure out how to make you lose. I know enough about the British to know that the common men always mess up the systems that the toffs come up with. And also, they'll just, they get it now. Everybody's getting this. Inevitably, there's going to be the ultra stupid people. And the ultra stupid and criminal will commit, like, tremendous amounts of crime. And they will really ruin everything. And it's not even a cause. It's just that really, really, really dumb and violent people, that's what they'll do. They'll just start doing what really dumb, violent people do. They'll start committing crime. So the more you squeeze normal, principled people that they actually object to, mostly what's political corruption. The stupid criminals it won't be that they'll prey on just normal. No, they'll go for big targets. They'll go for bigger and bigger fish. We've already seen this in California. And because there's also this kind of weird thing going on of a lot of people of a certain class not getting, okay, if you're going to turn the table over on society and be like, okay, peasants, eat off the ground, no meat for you, only bugs. You have to live in a fucking cardboard box. You'll own nothing. Watch my movies. A lot of it now, these criminals are now robbing you guys. They're robbing your mansions. Wealthy people are getting carjacked. People are getting jacked at expensive restaurants. The criminal element will figure it out. And that's why you need normal men who understand, okay, if I'm principled and do the right thing, and I stand up for the right thing, things will be fine. So my whole thing is, I'm like, no, don't worry. What will happen is Britain will become increasingly unlivable in large urban areas that Muslims and foreigners dominate. And they'll start to eventually physically scare white women to the point that the white women finally get it, that they're like, oh, this is not what I wanted whatsoever. I mean, it will fail, and it's because we've already seen how this turns into cascading failure in the Americas and in other places, and so my whole thing is, it's just like, because, and then there's that. There's already other places in Europe that have figured this out and have already started the idea of, no, you commit this kind of crime, you go back to your country of origin. I'm sorry, like that's you are no longer, that's breaking, you have obviously, are not entitled to asylum here. And there's European countries that have quietly started to do this. That you have to be paying attention to the news about it. And so this is real cute for a while, that Britain thinks that it could pull this off. But I mean, really, the problem is going to be that it won't logically work out. At some point, you're going to have this kind of society that everybody's being watched all the time, and you can't really do that. You don't have enough police to do that. And then it'll open up that's where the criminal element will just start doing real violent, horrible crime to people, because you have no way of really policing that, because it's easier to mess with people over Facebook posts. It's just fundamentally cheaper. It's an easier, it takes less effort. And you probably are going to be dealing with somebody who will just take the ride and pay the bill. It's a great way of constantly fining people for using social media. And probably you'll try to do this to Twitter, and you'll try to get into Elon's pockets over hate speech and stuff, and you'll become this pariah, these people who everything, that you're just these loathsome apologists for criminals. So and people violent by credo. So good luck with it.